The world's two biggest powers are on a collision course. One commands the skies, the other dominates the seas. Missiles, stealth jets, and nuclear power. Who really rules the battlefield? Is America still the unbeatable superpower, or has China finally caught up? The truth might shock you. Welcome back to the War Lens. Today we're diving into one of the most intense and talked about comparisons in the world: China versus the United States. The two most powerful nations on Earth, each armed with vast resources, technology, and ambition. This is the military power showed, and the world can't ignore. We're cutting through the noise, the myths, and the propaganda to reveal the truth behind who really holds the upper hand in this global rivalry. When we talk about military power, it's not just about who has more soldiers or bigger guns. It's about strategy, technology, readiness, and global reach. For decades, the United States has been the undisputed superpower, shaping the global order with its unmatched military might. But in the past 2 decades, China has transformed from a regional power into a global challenger, modernizing its armed forces at a breathtaking pace. The question now is not whether China can challenge the U.S., but how close it already is. Let's begin with budgets. The United States spends more on defense than any other nation in history. In 2025, its defense budget stands at around $916 billion. That figure alone exceeds the next 10 countries combined. The U.S. military is designed for global dominance, with forces deployed on every continent, hundreds of overseas bases, and unmatched logistics to sustain them. China, by comparison, spends around $408 billion, less than half. But money doesn't tell the whole story. China's military spending has increased steadily for decades, and it spends that money with intense focus on modernization and regional advantage. China's approach is different. It's not trying to mirror the U.S. global posture. It's building strength where it matters most to Beijing, the Indo-Pacific. Its strategy is built around pushing the U.S. further from Asia's coasts, dominating nearby waters, and securing its regional interests, particularly around Taiwan and the South China Sea. By focusing its military resources close to home, China gains efficiency and power projection advantages in its own backyard. Now, look at manpower. China has over 2 million active duty personnel, the largest standing army in the world. The United States has about 1.3 million active troops. On paper, China wins the numbers game, but in practice, quality matters more than quantity. The U.S. military is more professionalized, combat, experienced, and integrated across land, sea, air, cyber, and space. China's army has not fought a major war since 1979. Its troops are well trained by regional standards, but untested in large-scale combat. In the air, the U.S. Air Force remains the most advanced in the world. It operates over 13,000 aircraft, including the stealthy F-22 Raptors and F-35 Lightning Roman IIs, unmatched in technology and combat readiness. Its pilots train constantly in realistic conditions, and its command systems are deeply integrated with global allies. China's Air Force, known as the PLAF, is catching up fast. The J-20 stealth fighter is China's answer to the F-22, and the J-35 aims to rival the F-35. China now fields over 3,000 aircraft, many of them modernized. The gap is narrowing, but the U.S. still has a decisive edge in experience, stealth capability, and aerial refueling networks that enable long-distance strikes. At sea, the story is more complex. For the first time in modern history, the U.S. Navy faces a rival fleet that could surpass it in numbers. The Chinese Navy, the People's Liberation Army Navy or Plan, now operates more warships than any other navy in the world, over 370 and counting. However, most of these are smaller vessels, such as frigates and corvettes. The U.S. Navy, though smaller in count, dominates in tonnage, firepower, and global reach. It has 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers capable of launching hundreds of aircraft anywhere on the planet. China currently operates 3 carriers, with more under construction, but its carrier aviation program is still in its early stages. The real strength of China's navy lies in its missile forces and regional strategy. China has invested heavily in anti-ship ballistic missiles, especially the DF-21D and DF-26, sometimes called carrier killers. These weapons are designed to strike U.S. carrier groups from long distances, deterring them from entering contested zones. Combined with a growing submarine fleet and advanced coastal defense systems, China has built a powerful anti-access strategy, making it dangerous for U.S. forces to operate near Chinese shores. When it comes to land-based missile power, China is now a global leader. Its rocket force has developed precision-guided ballistic and cruise missiles that can hit targets across Asia and even reach U.S. bases in Guam. The DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicle adds a layer of speed and unpredictability, making interception extremely difficult. The U.S., meanwhile, maintains a formidable arsenal of long-range strike weapons, but many of its missiles are stationed far from Asia or restricted by older treaties that China never signed. Then there's the nuclear factor. The United States maintains the most powerful nuclear triad: land-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and strategic bombers, with around 50 warheads in total, including deployed and reserve. China's nuclear stockpile is smaller, estimated at around 600 warheads in 2025, but it's expanding fast. Analysts predict that number could reach 10 or more by 2030. China is also diversifying its nuclear forces, adding mobile ICBMs, new submarines, and long-range bombers, ensuring a secure second strike capability. While the U.S. still dominates in nuclear firepower, the gap is shrinking in a way unseen since the Cold War. Let's move to technology and innovation. Here the U.S. maintains a clear edge in artificial intelligence, advanced drones, cyber warfare, and space-based systems. The Pentagon's integration of AI into battlefield awareness and decision-making gives its forces unmatched coordination. U.S. satellites provide global surveillance, navigation, and communication advantages that make its forces almost omniscient on the battlefield. But China is advancing fast, investing heavily in cyber capabilities, satellite networks, and hypersonic technology. The race for space militarization is intensifying, with both nations developing anti-satellite weapons that could cripple the other's communication and intelligence systems in wartime. Now, consider experience. The U.S. military has been continuously active for decades, from Iraq and Afghanistan to Syria and global counterterrorism operations. Its leadership understands the realities of modern combat, logistics under fire, and coalition warfare. China, by contrast, has focused on exercises, simulations, and domestic security operations. Its last major war was with Vietnam in 1979. However, its officers study U.S. combat operations closely, learning from American successes and failures to craft their own doctrines. They have built a military meant to counter American strengths, not imitate them. Geography plays a defining role in this rivalry. The United States must project its power across the Pacific, thousands of miles from home. China, on the other hand, operates on its doorstep. Its forces can concentrate rapidly in its near seas and along its coastlines. That proximity gives China a natural advantage in any regional conflict, especially over Taiwan. U.S. forces would face long supply lines, limited bases, and heavy missile fire in the early days of a war. But the U.S. still has a crucial edge: global allies and partners that multiply its reach. Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the Philippines all host U.S. forces or cooperate closely with them. China's alliances are minimal, mostly limited to symbolic partnerships with Russia or North Korea. In cyber and electronic warfare, the battlefield is invisible but vital. Both nations invest heavily here. China has demonstrated its ability to conduct cyber espionage and large-scale hacking campaigns, targeting military, industrial, and government systems worldwide. The U.S., however, remains a pioneer in offensive cyber operations and defense infrastructure, with agencies like Cyber Command constantly evolving to counter Chinese and Russian attacks. Future wars may be won or lost in cyberspace long before a shot is fired. When comparing industrial capacity, China has an advantage that worries American planners' speed. Its shipyards can produce vessels faster than any other nation. Its missile production is streamlined, and its military, industrial base is closely tied to state planning. The U.S., on the other hand, faces slower procurement cycles, political delays, and aging infrastructure. American defense companies produce world-class technology, but bureaucracy often limits output. In a long war of attrition, China's massive industrial base could prove decisive. Still, there's a hidden truth: the U.S. advantage in global logistics. No other nation can move troops and supplies across the world as efficiently. The U.S. operates fleets of heavy transport aircraft, prepositioned supplies, and forward bases stretching from Europe to the Pacific. In contrast, China's military is largely regional. Its overseas presence is minimal, with one major base in Djibouti and a few small facilities elsewhere. Until China builds a true global logistics network, its military influence will remain mostly regional. Let's talk about morale and doctrine. The U.S. military values flexibility, initiative, and battlefield leadership. Its non-commissioned officers are empowered to make quick decisions. China's military, long influenced by political oversight, is reforming to allow more autonomy, but central control remains strong. However, China's nationalist drive and technological modernization have created a force motivated by national pride and strategic focus. Both militaries are professional and capable, but culturally different in how they fight and decide. In a potential conflict scenario, such as over Taiwan, the stakes couldn't be higher. China's proximity gives it the ability to mass overwhelming forces quickly. The U.S. would rely on long-range bombers, submarines, and carrier groups. A Chinese missile barrage could target American bases in Japan and Guam early on. The U.S. would respond with stealth aircraft and precision strikes, but sustaining the fight across thousands of miles would be challenging. Most experts agree such a war would be devastating for both sides, with no guaranteed winner. Beyond conventional power, both nations know that economic and technological strength are just as important. The U.S. leads in global alliances, advanced industries, and financial power. China leads in manufacturing scale and resource control. The future battlefield may not just be fought with weapons, but with chips, satellites, and supply chains. Both nations are preparing for that broader contest, one that could define the century. The truth is, there's no simple answer to who is stronger. The United States still holds the upper hand in global reach, technology, and experience. China, however, is the most capable challenger the U.S. has faced since the Cold War, one that is growing more confident, more advanced, and more determined. The balance is shifting. The days when the U.S. could operate near China's borders without challenge are gone. Yet China still lacks the power to project its military globally on the scale America can. The two nations are entering an era of strategic parity, not equals yet, but close enough to make conflict unthinkably costly. In the end, the real power lies not in weapons, but in restraint. Both sides know that a war between them would shake the world economy, devastate millions, and possibly go nuclear. The true showdown is not just about military might, but about strategy, diplomacy, and survival in an interconnected world. As we look ahead, the question is not simply who would win a war, it's who can prevent one. Because the strongest nation is not the one that destroys, but the one that deters. And that's the truth revealed. The U.S. may still lead, but China is closer than ever. The balance of power is shifting, the competition is fierce, and the world is watching. Thanks for watching The War Lens. Stay sharp, stay informed, and remember, the real battle for dominance is not always fought on the battlefield. It's fought in the shadows, the strategies, and the decisions made long before the first shot is fired.